hit the record button. It's pretty much the same drill every week. Every week we have a lesson to read in the textbook, do the exercises, do the quizzes. They're always due on the Sunday at the end of the week at 11:59 p.m. The only exception is many times if we have a project due, like this past time, I won't have a quiz due on that week. I'm figuring that, hey, you need to spend all your time, working on that project. So
That means we won't be doing quiz
so
4.
that's yeah, we're gonna be doing a quiz every week, and let's see what's going on for this week.
But I know, but where's quiz 4? It's not there anymore.
Right. Yes, that one was due on the on the 19th. It disappeared on the 19th. Hang on one second. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll make it visible again for you. Sorry about that. That disappeared on the 19th. What it is that according to the syllabus, we're not really a week behind, but we're right on schedule. So we're not really a week behind, but I had planned to be a little bit ahead of schedule by this time in the semester. So what I'll do is week 4. Yeah, that's the assignment this week. Quiz 4 on lesson 4. So that will be, and I got to go up and ripple everything up ahead. I'll make an announcement, so you see an announcement for it, and it will be available until 26th, this Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Thank you for alerting me to that, Mr. Price. Okay, and while I'm at it, let me go ahead and push lesson 5 up. I feel really good about last week's class lesson that we did. I feel good about it because the fact that I don't think other than maybe the first week, I don't think there was ever any way I didn't do at least some of this. I was able to actually demonstrate to you guys physically something that we were doing in the chapter in After Effects. I sent an email out to you guys on Monday, and without getting too specific, the reason that I sent the email out, the part of the email I'm interested most is where I said that it's not enough to just like read the chapter and just look for the correct answers on the quiz. Yes, good grades, that's wonderful. But the most important part is you want to know how to actually use the software to create presentations, multimedia, animations, or anything, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You want to be able to use the program deftly. Knowing the answers to the quiz and using the software, it's not the same thing. Okay. Now I know because of the nature of this course, there's no way that I can be there and say, okay, hey, you know the answers to the quiz, you know the information on the quiz, and you also know the the practical side of it, how to actually operate the software. There's no way for me to test that online. It's just not possible, other than through the projects. And even then, as you know, there's a whole lot of room for fudging with that. So so I just wanted to reiterate that the announcement was just supposed to reiterate, yo guys, you have to make sure that you're actually doing the exercises and you're actually pushing yourself to learn the software. Because if you know that you could have 100% on all your quizzes, but if you don't know how to actually hands-on operate the software, you've wasted your time. Okay, and I think I may have said in the syllabus or in the announcement that as an example, if you wanted to work for a post-production company, okay, you wanted to work for a company that you'll be doing compositing work. The first thing they're going to do on your interview is sit you down in front of After Effects or whatever program they're using and expect you to do some work. Okay, they're not going to look at your resume. They're not going to look at your transcript. They're not going to ask you how you did on your quizzes. They're going to want, yeah, they want to see your reel, like a collection of work you've done, but they're going to want to make sure that you know exactly how to operate the software. So we want to make sure that we have that level of practical knowledge, and we're not just copying down answers from the book on the quizzes. One of the things that I do when it's a face-to-face class, which we haven't had in a very long time, is I typically have a practical exam. And the practical exam is when you actually sit down and um, like I'll ask you to show me 4 different ways to make a new composition, and you have to show me all 4, not just one, not just the one you like, not just the 2 you know, but you have to show me all 4. I may ask you, I may give you a bunch of layers in After Effects and say, okay, I need you to nest these layers or pre-comp these layers, okay, inside of the current composition. You have to know what I'm talking about, and you have to do it. Don't talk me through it. Don't give me the idea verbally, but to actually do it. And I evaluate you on whether you're able to do it correctly and efficiently, and whether you're able to do it with, in a reasonable amount of time. And so we can't do that being that we're online, but that's what you should be preparing yourself for, not just can you visually recognize answers. Because when I was speaking to someone, I won't name any names, but I was speaking to somebody and I asked someone a question. It was like a keyboard shortcut or something. I was asking somebody a question last week about how to do something. It was pretty simple. It was very easy, like make a new composition or something. And nobody knew, and that was, to me, that was very heartbreaking, because I had to wonder if, people really kind of knew what was going on, or whether they were just putting answers to a quiz. So that being said, I want to address a question that was raised earlier about outputting your work. You have had output, by this time you've output your work several times in your lessons. Um, However, I want to go with it. I want to go over it, specifically, so you guys know how to output. Now, first of all, can anybody tell me, why do I need to output my composition out of After Effects? Mr. Moore, you want to
Yes.
answer the question? Why do I need to output a composition out of After Effects? Why would I need to do that?
Because the only way to output a composition After Effects is to start a new one, so you can do some stuff on there.
No, no. Anybody else want to give it a try? Why do I need to output? Yes, Curtis, go right ahead.
Well, you can't use the footage that you've created until you output it into some sort of video or something like that.
Right, very good. When you complete an animation, you're never going to show it to someone and say, hey, pull up this composition in your version of After Effects and hit the play button. No, you're not going to do that, for a lot of reasons, because number one, the people looking at your work probably aren't animators and they don't know what After Effects is. But you want to have all of your work to be rendered, as we say, into a self-contained QuickTime movie in most cases. Now, there are some people who render out a AVI or a movie player the Windows movie player app. AVI is a video type that those that system uses. I want to strongly encourage you, if you don't already have it, to go ahead, and I think you all do, but to go ahead and install QuickTime Player on your computers, because that's the only way that you can play back QuickTime movies on a computer. And so that means that when you finish working and you output your QuickTime movie, you double click on it, it'll play in its own little separate window. Okay. Not many people use Windows Movie Player, or use AVIs. That's kind of like a dead format. So I just want to make sure you do that. Something else that you do need to be aware of when you download QuickTime Player is the last time I checked, which was maybe in the spring, there are certain versions of Windows that QuickTime does not like. Okay. And I want to think Windows 10 may be one of them, or may used to be one of them. Is anybody here? Is anybody running Windows 10 on a PC?
Yeah, I am.
You are? Okay. Have you had any difficulty with QuickTime, like playing using QuickTime Movie Player, QuickTime Player?
I don't think I have.
Okay, good,
Can't
good, good.
recall a time
So
I
there,
have.
okay, so like if you've been doing the projects and you've been finishing it up and you've been looking at your output, like double clicking on them and looking at that QuickTime movie it outputs and it plays, you're good. But the reason why I say that, apparently they fixed that issue with more current versions of QuickTime. But there was a period of time where Windows 10 didn't like QuickTime, which was amazing because of the fact that for the past, I don't know, maybe 20 years, PCs have been playing well with QuickTime Player. So for some reason, you know, QuickTime 10 came out and they said, hey, we're not dealing with, I'm sorry, Windows 10 came out and QuickTime and QuickTime wasn't compatible with it. But that went on for like, gosh, I know at least a couple of years. But at some point, they updated QuickTime so it does like Windows 10. Or they updated Windows 10 so it likes QuickTime. I'm not sure which one they did, but something happened. So if you're trying to use QuickTime on your PC and you find out, or you try to download it and use it to watch a QuickTime movie and you're having problems, then what you need to do is update either QuickTime or Windows or both, because QuickTime is at the heart of everything you do as far as multimedia. So with no further ado, I'm gonna walk you through the process of how you output something. Okay, now this is extremely important. And I'll tell you why once I get it up and show it to you. I'm gonna open up a new project.
Nice.
I know you guys can't see it yet, but okay. All right. There we go. All right. So, you see it? No, not yet. There it is. Okay, good. So here we have this is the After Effects composition or project, we'll say, that you end up with at the end of the current lesson 4, working with shape layers. Okay. And say you're like, well, let's go to After Effects and let's just play back what you have. Okay. We have it's going from night to day. We have this plant that's, going from the sky connecting to this pot. Okay, that's what's going on. We can see we have multiple layers here, but hey, how do I get this in a form that like the average person can watch, or that I can upload to YouTube or Facebook, or add to my reel? Okay, my creative reel. How do I get that? Well, outputting is how you do it. Okay, and so this is what I want to do. First of all, what I want to make sure is that the composition that I'm looking at is the final composition. That means, number one, all of the work that needs to be done on it is done. Number two, you see this work area. We talked about the work area last time, how you can set a work area beginning and end if you just want to focus on, say that part of the composition. Okay, you need to make sure that your work area is the entire duration of the composition that you want to output. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3, you want to make sure that you're looking at the composition that is the culmination of everything that you've done. What I mean by that is I see that I have a nested composition here. You see this starscape icon right here, that layer, the 8th layer? That's what you call a nested composition. That means that it's a composition inside of a composition. The name of this composition that's nested is Starscape. It's inside of the composition called background. Okay. Before I show you how to output, I wanna tell you that. Let's double click on the nested composition Starscape. Let's click on that. Double click on that. You can see that this composition is just the stars. The stars fade down. That's all that is. Are just these seven shape layers, which are stars, and their opacity. See, their opacity animates over 2 seconds and 15 frames, 2.5 seconds. Okay, all they do is fade down. Now, we can see those stars fade down in the main composition called background. Okay, by the way, I know I'm in the background composition because I can look at the tab up here in the upper left-hand corner. When I'm in the Starscape composition, I know I'm there because I look in the tab up here in the upper left-hand corner. But also, I can look up here in the comp window, and it'll tell me by the word composition which composition I'm looking at. Okay, it's really easy to get confused and, hey, I don't know what composition am I in right now. Make sure you look at the composition title up in the tab here, or the composition tab that's available in the timeline panel. Okay, but the reason why we nest compositions is because, hey, say there's an animation that I want to animate all by itself, like fading down these stars. I want to animate it separately. And then once I animate it separately, I'm going to add it to the larger animation of everything else going on in this background composition. Okay. Keeping that Starscape composition separate to animate it separately as like a separate thing, and then nest it inside of the background composition as its own layer. Because see, this composition called Starscape is represented as its own layer. That makes the process of making complex animations a lot easier. And that's why we nest compositions. Yes, Curtis.
Hey, Mr. Thomas, I'm so sorry. Something just came up and I need to step away for a second, but would it be okay if I just leave if I stay in the meeting?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are you? So yeah, that's why, I mean, because I think I tried to explain nesting compositions before, and I kind of didn't feel like it was absorbed, and maybe my definition wasn't as explicit as I would have wanted it to be, because we were kind of early on in the process. But the idea is you nest compositions inside of other compositions so that you make a very complex overall animation much simpler, because I'm compartmentalizing certain parts of the animation. Like, say for instance, I had a little guy running from left to right way in the background. Okay, could I do that animation right here in the background composition with everything else? Sure, but I would have a whole bunch of that, give me a whole bunch of layers inside of this background composition that would include the guy running in the background. Okay, way too complicated, way too cluttered. Why not make a separate composition from scratch and animate the guy running from right to left in its own composition? And once I have that composition complete, I can nest the running composition into the background composition. And everything that happened in the running composition will happen in the background composition, except for I will see the running composition with the background composition on the screen as well. Okay, does that not make sense to anybody? I feel like I used a lot of words, but does that not make sense to anybody? Okay, hopefully, as you guys have been working through these lessons, it's becoming, you know, I don't want to say intuitively, because I like to give everything specific words, but it's becoming more obvious why you want to nest compositions inside of other compositions. So the whole point, getting back to outputting, is this: you want to make sure you're looking at the final or the largest or the most outside composition. When I say outside, don't give me a don't bring to the front of the timeline panel a composition that's merely nested inside of another composition. Give me the final composition that has everything nested inside of it, so I see everything I need to see when I hit the play button. The full animation, that's the compositions and all right? So you need to make sure that's going on, okay? Once your work is complete, you're looking at the final composition, you have your work area, your work bar is set correctly. Now, also, you need to make sure that all your switches are on correctly. Like say, for example, if you want to use motion blur, you need to make sure that your motion blur switch is checked. If you want to, if any of these are 3D layers, make sure that all the switches are selected there. Make sure all your parenting links are there. You should have learned that in the chapter as well. Okay, I'm going to toggle from switches over to modes. Make sure that you're in the correct mode. We haven't worked with any modes on this project, but modes are ways I can combine two layers that are stacked on top of each other, okay, based on what color the layer is or the brightness of the layer. Talk about that later. But the idea is you want to make sure everything is complete. You've made all the settings you need to make. Now we're going to go to the compositions menu, and we're going to go down to well, actually, we can go down to one of these two. Either add to Adobe Media Encoder queue or add to render queue. I'll tell you a little bit about the difference, and I think I may have addressed this in a question that I answered earlier this week. The difference between these two is that, say for example, you want to make a version for Vimeo, which needs to be 4K, a version for YouTube that needs to be 2K, a version for mobile apps that needs to be like a small size, like 500 by 500, and a version for Facebook that needs to be another size, like, I don't know, 720 by 480. 4 different versions of that same composition, okay? You don't have to go to After Effects and output them one at a time, resetting their settings each time before you output. You can actually go to Adobe Media Encoder and set up the 4 different specifications on the 4 different versions that you want to output. One that's 720 by 480, one that's 1920 by 1080, one that's 3860 by 2160 or whatever, the 4K one, and one that's 500 by 500. You can tell Media Encoder to output those 4 videos with those specifications, and it'll output them one at a time. Okay, it'll output one, and then it'll output the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, all in one sweep. Okay. However, if you're just outputting just this one version of the composition, and I only need one version, I don't need multiple versions, that's when you go to add to queue. So I'm going to go to add to render queue rather. The keyboard shortcut for that is Control Command M, Control Command M, or it would be, Control Command. It could be Control Alt M on a PC. I'm not sure, because Command and Control are usually 2 buttons where you use one or the other. In this case, you're using both. So the render key for that, it might be Control Alt M. It could be. But anyway, I'm going to click on that from the composition window, and you're going to see down here, I'm going to get my render queue. By the way, just in case you don't know what a queue is, Q-U-E-U-E, what a queue is, that's a line. Like, for example, if you're in a line at a hot dog stand, and you're standing in line, you're waiting your turn to buy a hot dog, that's a queue. A render, that's a hot dog queue or a hot dog line. The word queue is more of a UK, means United Kingdom, England, and whatnot. You normally hear them use the word like queue up, man. That means get in line, okay? You know, queue up for the movie tickets, get in line for the movie tickets. But a render queue is just basically a list of different compositions that you want to output into its own self-contained format, and queue is the list of those compositions one at a time that you work on. So this is a very easy thing to do, y'all. Basically, what you want to do is you want to, number one, make sure that the comp that you want to output, the composition that you want to output is listed, okay? Number two, to make sure you're outputting the correct composition. Number two, the name of the game is click the blue letters, click the blue words, okay? The render settings queue, if I click those blue settings, it says best, quality best, resolution full, which is, the resolution is the size of the image, horizontal by vertical. So you can see the size of this composition is 720 by 480, okay? You may ask yourself, well, why would I want to render something out something less than best? Well, a lot of times you may want to output like a rough draft version of your composition so you can kind of get an idea of maybe animated layers, how they'll look. It's not the best quality, but it'll give me a really quick output. It won't take me, in certain cases, even really long, complex animation. It can take you hours. In my case, I've output compositions that have taken over 48 hours to output, because it was like for a feature, for a short film, and film effects took a long time. So the idea is you may want to output a draft or a wireframe version, which are lower quality versions that will output a lot faster, just so you can take a look at this rough draft version and tell if you're going in the right direction. Resolution full, that means it's going to be the same resolution as what you were working in the composition. So if the composition settings said that I was working at 720 by 480 resolution, then full resolution means that it's going to output at 720 by 480. Why would I want to output it at half or third or quarter? By the way, half of 720 by 480 is what? 360 by 240. Okay, so it's going to be half as big. The little square will be half as big. Why would I want to do that? Same thing as that quality setting. It's going to output it faster, and it's going to be but you'll get a better idea of what's going to look like. One second.
Sir? What happened? Hello?
I think he is reconnecting.
Go back to what now? Lots. Oh yeah. Right, absolutely. Then it starts getting dark early. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so like I said,
Bye-bye what? No, never mind.
I was talking to somebody in the background. Okay, so the idea is, yeah, you want to do half or third or quarter. Each one of these would have a smaller and smaller and smaller window, or smaller movie. If I just want to see a real quick render, real quick output of my movie, just so I can get an idea if I'm going in the right direction. I might not even be done animating yet. I just want to see what I have so far, okay? The rest of the stuff we don't have to worry about right now, but what you want to look at is time span. It says work area only. If your work area is the same duration as the full duration of the composition that you want to output, that's fine. Sometimes a safer way to go is length of comp, but you need to be careful with length of comp, because say you have a 10-second animation, but your composition is really like 30 seconds long. So you have a 10 seconds of animation you want, and that last 20 seconds is just blank screen or something you don't need. In that case, you probably don't want to go length of comp. I like to trim my comps so that only the portion that I need is that's how long the composition is. So I don't have a lot of excess space, okay? So if you use work area only, just make sure the work area fully encompasses the composition that you're trying to output, all right? So that's really all that we really need to be concerned about at this point: the time span, the quality, and the resolution. That's all I need to be concerned about. Let's click OK. And I'm going to go down to the next blue words, the output module. Let's click on that. It starts off as lossless. Okay. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I want to output a QuickTime movie? Usually the answer to that question is emphatically yes. But let's look at some of the other formats that we can output. Okay. We can output an AIFF if it's just audio and that's not video. I mean, you can output a QuickTime movie that's just audio as well. By the way, After Effects is not the best program to just do audio work in. Okay, if you're doing some sound effects, you need to be working in Adobe Audition. But let's just say you did want to output just some audio. You could output the AIFF. You could output DPX. That's a non-QuickTime format, or IFF, or a JPEG sequence, or an MP3, or any one of these here. But QuickTime is what you're going to be doing the vast majority of the time. So you can just kind of stick with that, right? Okay. Post-render actions. The book may have you do this, where after it's finished rendering out your composition as a QuickTime movie, do you want to import that QuickTime movie that you just output back into your After Effects composition? That's the first option. Import and replace usage. That's similar to first one, where it imports it back into After Effects, except for what's going to happen is that where the composition was, the comp layers were, it's going to replace that with a layer that's just that QuickTime movie that you output. Set proxy. A proxy is basically like a substitute teacher or a substitute instead of the real elements you used. Okay, and so none is what you're going to be doing most of the time. You may choose import from time to time depending upon what you're doing. If you have a complex animation, but right now that needs to be set to none. Video output, you can leave this the same. Don't change this from RGB channels, the bit depth, and color space. Don't change that to anything else. But you do want to click, this is probably one of the most important ones, click on format option, okay? Because a QuickTime movie is an umbrella term. That's an umbrella term. Basically, a QuickTime movie means any movie that you can play in QuickTime. And as you can see from this video codec, there's a whole lot of different flavors of QuickTime movie. A video codec is a specific flavor of, in this particular case, a QuickTime movie, right? Animate, you may say, well, why do we have so many of them? Well, these different codecs are good for different things. This animation codec, it'll give you a super duper high quality output, but it'll take a really long time to output it, okay? And it'll take up a lot of space on your computer, okay? Where you guys want to live for now is Apple ProRes 422, maybe Apple ProRes 422 HQ, and on a rare occasion, Apple ProRes 422 LT. If you have a relatively modern computer, any one of these Apple ProRes codecs from 422 down to 422 LT, your computer should be able to handle. 422 proxy, that's too low quality. Apple ProRes 4x4, that's what we call it. That's Apple ProRes 4444. That's only for like super duper high end purposes. Like if you're outputting video, if you're outputting a composition for like the big screen in 4K for Avengers. That's when you would use Apple ProRes 4444, okay? Most of the time, you don't have to worry about the rest of these, but just know that your codec is, in most cases, I'm gonna use Apple ProRes 422 is usually a good way to go for these projects. So that's what I'm gonna stick that there and click OK. Now, I think, Joshua, you had a question about that. Does that answer your question? Is that Joshua, or was it somebody else who had a question of the particular output format or output codec? Okay, so the format is QuickTime Movie. The codec is Apple ProRes 422. Apple ProRes 422 is a very specific type of flavor of a QuickTime Movie. So if I look down here at the bottom, it'll just say, okay, if you have audio, it will, you can output your audio like you have music or something like that, like you had for your last project. Your audio output auto, that basically means that If there is audio in the composition, it'll output the audio with the video. You could choose audio output on, and that's whether or not you have any audio. It'll try to output an audio track with your video. If there's no audio, it'll just be blank, just no sound, okay? And audio output off, that's like, hey, I don't care if I do have music on this animation, don't output any audio. Generally speaking, sticking with audio output auto is a good place to stick. 48 kilohertz is fine. That's DVD quality audio, DVD quality, not just not video, but DVD quality audio, that's fine. 16-bit, that's fine. Some people go to 32-bit these days, but once again, this is not an audio mastering program, so you really shouldn't do much, if anything, with audio here, okay? Of course, you have a format option button here, and this is kind of like the format option for the video that we saw a minute ago, except for this just handles audio, okay? Generally speaking, you don't have to make any changes to this either. You click OK. I click OK a second time, and then I go back to my render queue here, and the last set of blue letters is output 2. It says not yet specified. It's asking me the QuickTime ProRes 422 movie that I'm going to end up with, where do you want me to save it on your hard drive? That's what this is asking. Now, I've talked to you guys about good media management skills. You don't want to just save it anywhere on your hard drive. You want to have a very organized label place where you save your movies, okay? And in the book, they make it really easy for you, because if you click on not yet specified, you're going to find, like say lesson 4, they save them in finished project. That's where they save the finished QuickTime movie, not the After Effects project file. That's saved in the in project file folder. They'll usually give you a sample of the in project file, and then when you do the lesson and do it yourself, you can save your version in the in project file folder, okay? But the idea is I have a very organized place to save this in the lesson 4 folder and inside of the finished project folder. Now, if you're working on an animation like the one you just finished and you're not working with the lessons from the book, you need to set up your own folder hierarchy. That means you need to set up a set of organized labeled folders where you can save your After Effects project and your final movie in a very organized and labeled place, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the finished project folder and click OK. And you can see, I now see the name of the composition that I'm outputting. I would also have to say, that's not a very good name, background.mov. That doesn't really tell me anything about, what this project is about. And the last thing I do is I hit the render button. I kind of consider hitting the render button like putting the cookies in the oven. The raw cookies, that's the composition. When I hit the render button, you can think of the render queue as like the oven, and I'm setting the oven by clicking these blue sets of words. When I hit the render button, I close the door and let the cookies start a baking. And you will see a progress bar move from left to right. Right here, it's counting down how long it's taken to render out this movie so far. And it also will show you the number of frames it's rendered out. When you hear the tone, cookies are done. Let's go to our, I gotta set this up so you can see it. Let's go to our folder that we specified to take a look at that QuickTime movie. Let's see, 1 through 7.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, right here. And then lesson 4. And then in finished project. You see how quick and easy, oh, you didn't see it, I'm sorry. Let me show you what I can see. Okay. You guys can't see that yet, can you? There you are. Okay. So as you can see, I'm going to go back. Okay. I'm going to show you where I found this. I went to my desktop. I'm going to come back, by the way, just in case. And then I'm going to go to 7. Okay. We're back. Okay. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Sir?
My connection, they dropped my
I don't
connection for a
understand.
second.
Sir, I don't understand I don't understand why is it keep
Go ahead.
reconnecting, sir. We have a good thing going
That's
here.
supposed to be, that's
I
the
don't understand
internet.
what.
Thank you. That's an internet thing, man. I can't control that. That's just the school. I'm at the school and I'm using their internet. So that just happens from time to time. Unfortunately, it is a issue with the connection, and it does happen from time to time. But if that happens, do exactly what you guys did. Please stay in place. Nobody go anywhere, and just keep doing what you're doing.
I'm not going
I'll come
anywhere.
back as soon as.
Not going anywhere.
Okay, good. So like I said, okay. So notice how I can easily. I go back to the beginning. I can easily find my output video. It's in the finished project folder. Here it is right here. This is a standalone QuickTime movie. Okay, I'll look at it in different formats or in different forms here. Okay, there it is right there. It's a QuickTime movie. If I double click on this, can you see that? No, you cannot. Give me a second. Okay. I've clicked on it. This is my QuickTime movie right here. Give it a second. It'll come. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Where you at? Where you're at? Where you at? There it is. Okay. So when I hit the play button, see, I'm playing this as a standalone QuickTime movie. This is not I'll play it again. This is not a After Effects composition. You'll also notice that it plays back smoothly when I've output it as a QuickTime movie. The reason for that is because of the fact that the whole point of the rendering process is for the computer to do all of the math that it needs to do in order to present you with a nice, smooth, fluid final animation. And then it packages it as a QuickTime movie that you can now do whatever it is you want to do with it. Upload it to YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Okay. So that's outputting. That's like a simplified version of outputting. There's a lot more to outputting than just that, but that's like the last chapter in the book. There are a lot more options that you have as far as outputting and things like that. But that's like a simplified version of outputting. Does that answer your question, guys, as far as what outputting is all about? Okay.
Yeah.
One of the first things you guys need to ask when you work on a project, say for instance, somebody comes up to you, Josha, and says, hey, I want you to make an animation for me for a kid's animation for a third grade class. You got to do an animation for them or whatever. One of the first things you want to ask them is what I call what's end game. What's end game? End game is basically your deliverable, which is another word for it, deliverable. That's basically, hey, what am I going to give you? Now, you know you're going to give them a finished QuickTime movie in most cases, but you need to ask them, what size does this need to be? A lot of times you'll be talking to someone who knows nothing about film and especially knows nothing about After Effects, and they're not going to know how to answer that question. What size, what resolution, 720 by 480, 1920 by 1080, 4K. They may not know what any of that means. Okay. So you're going to have to walk them through this. You know, you have to say to them, well, okay, who's going to watch this? Okay. Say, okay, kids are going to watch this and they're going to watch it on YouTube. All right. So by them saying that they're going to watch it on YouTube, that tells you two things about your output. Number one, it doesn't have to be 2K. It doesn't have to be 4K, especially because of the fact that on YouTube, it's going to be shrunk down. You're going to drop a lot of resolution. The file size is going to be decreased, and you're going to drop a lot of resolution on YouTube because of the fact that their servers are not big enough for everybody to upload a 4K movie. You know, they wouldn't have enough space on their computers to store it all. Well, there are paid, you know, you can have a paid subscription to YouTube that'll give you more space on their server, but you need to know, hey, it's gonna be on YouTube. I can keep this a small size, like 720 by 480, like what you just saw with the lesson you guys just did in chapter 4. You'll know that, hey, I use a QuickTime ProRes 422 output, but you would also know that, hey, QuickTime doesn't like, YouTube does not like QuickTime 422. YouTube likes H.264. That's the format that you're going to be outputting to 90% of the time when you're uploading something to the web. And I want to show that output format to you. Let me switch you back over so you can see my screen. Okay. So give it a second. It's coming. It's coming. My screen. There it is. Okay. So I'm in After Effects here. And if we go back to render, well, actually what it is that, let me tell you one thing. Before I do anything, notice that when I'm in the render queue, anything that's all white like this means it's already been output. This is an old output, the one we just did, okay? So I can't really do anything with this. If I want to output this again, I need to close out my render queue by clicking the X in the upper left-hand corner, go to the background queue, which is the main, or I call it the final composition that has everything in it, and then I'm gonna go to the render queue in a different way this time. I can go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. That's another way I can do it. Okay, I see the render queue opens up. Remember the white letters that this row here represents my first output. I can spin the little V up by it up like that. So I minimize that first output. You see there's a 1 here. Okay, this is my second output. And I know this is the one I'm dealing with because the lettering is blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Click best settings. Okay, best, full, that's fine. Okay, everything looks good here. We click OK. Here is where I'm going to make a difference if I want to output this in the the H.264 codec. Click on lossless. Click on QuickTime Video. Okay, and I can keep it as a QuickTime Video. Okay, but under format options, instead of animation, I'm going to go to, let's see if they have it here. They may not have it here anymore, y'all. We can see the other formats here, but they may not have it here anymore. They don't, okay? And the reason why I kind of got the idea they didn't was because you normally see the H.264 format in the format Dropbox. So there used to be an H.264 option here, okay? This actually gives me a good idea, but I don't see an H.264 option here, okay? You see that, guys? There's no H.264. Say you specifically have to turn in an H.264 and it's not there. Let's click cancel. And let's go ahead and select this output background and let's press delete. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to start over from scratch. Output, except for this time, go back to the background composition. This time, I'm going to go File, output through Adobe Media Encoder. The reason is I'm thinking that Adobe Media Encoder has that H.264 output format that After Effects doesn't. They used to have it in After Effects, but apparently as of 2021, they no longer have the H.264 output in format in After Effects. So Media Encoder is going to launch. It's a separate program. It's going to launch, and what's going to happen is I'm going to have to add my After Effects composition to Adobe Media Encoder. I'm going to click the plus button here at the top left-hand corner of the queue. This is like the queue inside Adobe Media Encoder. Just in case you're wondering, it's thinking, just in case you're wondering, actually, I'm sorry, I didn't have to hit the plus button. It just took a second. It took a little longer than it might have was supposed to. There is my composition right there. Okay. See, it says here's the After Effects icon, and it says background. That's my composition that I want to output right. This first column, this is my format. It says H.264. Great. So it defaults to what I want to output. But by the way, if I click this down disclosure triangle, I can see a whole bunch of other formats that I can output. Okay, a bunch of other formats. And I see the QuickTime format if I want to. But in this case, I want to output the H.264 format. As far as preset, just leave it match source, high bit rate. That means that it's going to give me the highest quality possible. Output file, same as before. It's asking me, where do I want to save this final output H.264 movie? Okay, let's call it H_264, so I know that it's a different version from the first one that I output. Okay, and I'm going to save it in my finished project folder. I'm going to call it background H_264, so I know this is the H.264 version. By the way, an H.264 is the same thing as, well, it has an MP4 at the end of the file name. Click save, right? And that's all I need to do other than hitting this play button right here. That's the start queue button. I'm going to hit this button, or I can press return on my keyboard, and you're going to see a progress bar. It's going to appear in a second. You can see each frame that I'm outputting for my animation down in this output preview window right here. Why is my computer so slow today? I don't know why. Incidentally,
Maybe that, I don't know, but sooner or later, it's affecting Tuesdays and Wednesdays in my class as well.
yes. Well, just in case you're wondering, what is a media encoder used for? Like I said before, media encoder can be used to take one QuickTime movie or one Premiere Pro project file or one After Effects project file, and it can convert it to different forms that may be useful for different reasons. For example, if I look over here, my preset browser over here, let me make sure you guys can see this. No, you guys can't see any of this. Why don't y'all say something, y'all? Why don't y'all say something? You can't see any of this. I didn't see any of that on, there it is. Media encoder. Here's my, right here, media encoder. Here is my, when I launch media encoder from After Effects, this is my composition, and H.264 was already selected. I just hit the play button, and it output my my movie into this folder right here. You can see it. It's a finished project folder. Okay, but I was showing you Adobe Media Encoder is good for like, say for example, you want to output a version for DVD, which people don't really look at anymore. Okay, I can drag this DVD. I can drag this DVD preset. I can drag it right over here, drop it on this preset column here, and what's going to happen is that my QuickTime movie will be output according to the specifications of, like this. I could drop it right there in the window. And what's going to happen is that it's going to give me MPEG 2 version of my video that's going to be appropriate for burning to a DVD, or authoring a DVD with, rather. And so, you know, this is a good way to, like, say for example, if I have if you want to do they have a social media category here. I want a version for Facebook. Just drag that over here to the main window. Okay, and right here. Notice that Facebook is also an H.26 formatted video. Okay, and as far as the preset, it's going to give you a preset that Facebook likes. But once again, if I hit this play button up here or hit return, it's going to just go down this list and output these videos one at a time. Okay, and it's going to deposit them in my folder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's stop sharing that and let's go back to my Finder. Finder is what we call the desktop when you're working on a Mac, by the way. Desktop. I see Kamal just joined us. Welcome, Kamal. Kamal.
Hello.
Hello. And desktop. Lessons 1 through 7. Lesson 4. Finished project. There it is right there, the H.264. So if I double click this, you're going to say, hey, Mr. Thomas, QuickTime Player opened up. That's obvious from the upper left-hand corner, but this is an H.264 video, movie output, animation that you output. How can this be 264 formatted video in QuickTime Player? That's the player that plays QuickTime formatted videos. And the answer for that is this. QuickTime Player plays almost every format of video known to humankind. H.264 technically is not a QuickTime movie format, okay? It's the H.264 format, okay? And you can see I know it's an H.264 even if it isn't in my label, because it has a .mp4 at the end of the file name, okay? So the idea is that, I'll just play it for you. You guys can't see this, hold on. So like I was saying, this is my H.264. It's gonna come to you guys in 1 second as a refresh. Refresh. There we go. Okay, so you can see here that I'm in QuickTime Player, and this is an H.264 movie. You can see from right there, but you could also tell it's an H.264 because it has an MP4 label at the end. But I'm in QuickTime Player playing this. How can QuickTime H.264 movie, H.264 and a QuickTime movie are not the same thing, are they? No, they are not. But the great thing about QuickTime Movie Player is that QuickTime Movie Player can play video in almost any format under the sun. H.264, It can play, of course, any QuickTime format, NTSC DV, which is standard definition. It can play, of course, all the Apple ProRes formats. It can play a Flash video file. It can play almost anything you want in a QuickTime player, okay? Windows Movie Player could not do that. That's why Windows Movie Player disappeared. People preferred QuickTime Player because it can play almost any format of video. Yes, ma'am, Miss Patel.
Is it a recommended like to use the real player most probably instead of any other?
Do not use Real Player. Do not use Real Player. That's what we were just talking with Real Player or Windows.
Sorry, QuickTime.
Formats of video. For example, probably if you do the projects in the book and you double click on the output that you do at the end of the exercise, QuickTime Video will launch, okay? Because you need QuickTime to play it. Like I said, 99% of all video will play on QuickTime Movie Player, or QuickTime Player rather. So get used to using QuickTime Player. You can go ahead and not even worry about those other things. Windows Movie Player and Real Player, those are toys. QuickTime Movie Player though, that's way more robust for a lot of reasons. One of which is that After Effects and virtually every other program where you're editing video or working with graphics, it's set up to work with QuickTime Movie Player. Okay, they have that nested inside of the program. Yes, Ms. Patel.
Yes. So the QuickTime Movie Player is, as an example, the Real Player is based on Windows.
Yes,
which
they have a Windows
software or which is from the which system is belonging from?
Well, QuickTime Player, they have a PC version and a Mac version. If you're on a PC, you want the PC version. Now, one thing you do need to be careful of, though, is, and I said this at the beginning of the class, QuickTime, when Windows 10 came out, which is relatively recent, QuickTime didn't like it. So you couldn't do anything having to do with QuickTime anytime you were on a PC that was running Windows Player, which was a huge, that was running Windows, like Windows 10. That was a huge problem. That was a huge problem because of the fact that if you were doing anything in the Adobe Creative Cloud, anything having to do with Adobe, there was like a 99% chance you needed QuickTime Player, okay? But if you didn't have it, or if you had Windows 10, you couldn't use QuickTime Player. Now,
I have a Windows 10.
Right. Now, are you able to use QuickTime Player on your PC?
I didn't just thought about that, but I'm gonna try it. Like, how does it work? And I'm gonna put you notes on like an email.
Yeah. Just double click an MOV. Like if you look through your assets folder, look through these different chapters, all you would have to do is just do like I just did, like double click on an MOV file. And if
give me one sec. Where is it?
It's if QuickTime launches, it's like a standalone QuickTime movie file, just like the ones you've been outputting at the end of your lessons, at the end of your exercises. If you're able to play that back, then you know you have.
Where is it located?
It's in the assets folder. In the assets folder, I'll show you.
Is it a course information or what?
Okay, no, it's not in Blackboard. It's not in Blackboard. It's in the material that you downloaded for the to do the exercises in the book.
Okay. Yeah, exercise book.
So, for example, okay, well, it's gonna freshen up in a second. It's gonna refresh in just 1 minute.
No problem. I'm opening as well. Let me see.
Okay, there it is. So basically, like say for example, here are the folders that I go into to do my lessons out of the book.
Which lessons do you want me to open?
Anyone. You go into anyone. You'll see that under finished project. Double click on finished project. And better yet, let me do this. Don't go finish project. Go to sample movies.
Oh, I'm on the
Okay.
assets and I'm opening the window right now. I've opened that app, the MOV file.
Right. Yeah. See, this is like an MOV file, any MOV file like that. If you double click
So
it,
it says like this item was encoded in a format that's not
right.
supported.
Right. Okay. So you don't have QuickTime Movie Player. Okay.
No.
But what you can do is the only other option you have is to output an AVI, which is what you've probably been doing at the end of these projects. Okay. An
Okay.
AVI is like QuickTime Movie, but it's in a format that PCs can understand. PCs that don't have QuickTime Player. Okay.
So
Now
how about
the thing
Power
is,
Media Player? Power Media Player?
no, you don't want that. When you double,
Okay.
like for example, double click, do you see a lesson like a AVI file
Uh-huh.
in a sample movies folder? Do you see an AVI file
Let me see.
like this?
This is AVI file.
Go into the sample movies folder and look for any file that has the .avi ending.
Okay. Sample movies and AVI. Yes, there is a
Okay.
two files.
Double
One
click
is a
on that
MOV
AVI.
and one is AVI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Double click on that AVI file.
Uh-huh. I think that's why like a lesson third, you had the like to review the file. I can open that AVI file that time. I can open it.
Okay. Which program opened up when you yeah, go ahead, open it.
It's just,
What is it? Windows Movie Player that opens? What opens?
I think so. Yeah, it's a window movie player.
Okay, so the idea is this: an AVI. Yes, you can make those on a PC, and yes,
Uh-huh.
it will
Convert it.
open up
I can
on
convert that
Windows
format.
Movie Player. Was it out?
I can
It
convert
will
into
open
the
up on.
AVI for.
Right. Okay, yeah, AVI, and that's fine for the lessons. That's fine for the lessons. But one thing that you should kind of work your way towards is working with MOVs, because one thing you're going to see is like that Windows movie player that you're looking at right now. That can only play a very small number of formats of movies. Okay, it can play
Okay.
AVIs and a couple of others, but it can't really do a whole lot. Whereas
Okay, gotcha. So
if
it's
you
not
have
a whole movie. Whole movie can't we do that?
well, yeah, I mean, well, when you say whole movie, we're not talking about like feature films or anything. We're just talking about like we were just talking about how there are different formats, that's different flavors of output that you can when you finish your composition. It can come out as an Apple ProRes 422, a Flash movie, a H.264. It's a whole bunch of different types or flavors of movie files you can output. Windows Player can only play a few of them, whereas QuickTime Player can play almost all of them. Like, say, for example, you can see I just opened an AVI on QuickTime Movie Player. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Let me see. No, hold on. You can't see that. Let me show it to you.
Yeah, I can see the AVI. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll show you. I opened it up. Here it is right here. This is it's gonna take a second. Price, wake up. I don't want to sit there and watch you go to sleep. Okay, there it is. See, it says lesson 4 converted.mov. Well, this was an AVI. I don't have Windows Movie Player on my Mac. I double clicked that AVI and it converted it into a QuickTime movie, and I can play it in QuickTime. Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Windows Movie Player won't do that to a MOV or a QuickTime file. Like you just double clicked an MOV file, it did not. It couldn't convert that to an AVI and play it a Windows Movie Player. It couldn't do it. You just read the error message to me a minute ago. Okay, so QuickTime Movie Player is a lot more flexible, and it is something you'll run into all the time, constantly in the real world.
So I can download it, right? I can download it as an additional.
You can download it. Yes, you can download it from free from apple.com. or QuickTime.com. However, one thing that, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning of class, if you have Windows 10 like you do, it only likes certain versions of QuickTime. Get the newest version of QuickTime, okay, and install that. And if for some reason you can't install the newest version of QuickTime, then that means that you need to update your version of Windows 10. So there's a version of Windows 10 that you can update your operating system to for free. That'll be more current. Because like I said, a little while ago, a couple of years ago, Windows 10 would not work with QuickTime Player. But they made some changes in the more recent versions of Windows and QuickTime. They will work together. So if you if you find that now, like I said before, in the class, if you want to continue just working on Windows Movie Player and output AVIs, that's totally fine. But like I said before, like when you go beyond the class and you start doing work out in the real world, working in AVI may become a problem, may become an issue because of the fact that, like I said before, like for example, you can't upload. I don't believe you can upload an AVI to YouTube. There are lots of places you cannot upload AVIs, but they will take QuickTime movies. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so that's why it's a good idea to have at least have both of them.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
That makes sense?
Uh-huh.
All right, let's move on. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about with outputting. We started the class by someone actually approached me and asked me about had a question on outputting because they were outputting the previous
right.
project. So that's what's going on with that. So let's take a 15. Let's take a 10. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna start talking about our chapter that's assigned for this week, chapter 4 on shape layers, creating and working with shape layers. All right, which is kind of like where that image comes. So we'll give it 15 because we have till 4 o'clock. So we'll give you 15. Let's come back at let's call it 3:30. Call it 3:30, and we'll pick it up from here. All right.
Okay.
And Price Moore can continue his break. His nap,
but I don't know. I have a question. I'm not sure. I don't know why he do this. Is it appropriate way he can take a lessons? I'm just asking, like random. Is it the right way? Like is it appropriate way he can take lessons like that?
Oh, you talking about him? Oh, I don't know what he has going on, but I hope he knows all of this is being recorded. So, and if any point in time,
I just like something. It's so embarrassing when I was just like, I'm just watching this kind of stuff. It's like, so I don't know. I know what's going on in this generation, but
yeah, I don't know. But I can't control it from this end. But the idea is, you know how I use it as an instructor is inevitably someone would always say, hey, well, I don't think the class was fair and you didn't teach us this and you gave me a bad grade and you just have someone. And I'll say, you know what?
You're doing good.
Let's
Like
take
just
a look
do
at
the
video.
recording. Do the recording. That makes sense.
That's exactly what I do. Say, here's where you missed out because you were sleeping and I've got it all on tape. All right. So, all right. So I'll see you guys in 15.
Sure. Okay. Bye.
Okay. All right.
Look at him.
Hmm. Hello?
All righty, we are back. So hopefully you enjoyed your 15-minute break. Let's take a look at chapter 4, working with shaped layers. Now, you can create, I know we're used to the idea of bringing in media into After Effects and compositing them into the comp window, kind of like you guys did with the first few lessons. However, After Effects gives you the ability to make some really great art that originates right in After Effects. You don't have to bring in stuff from Photoshop, or you don't have to bring in stuff from Illustrator if you don't want to. One thing I will tell you though, is that Illustrator and Photoshop are much better at creating like shapes and designs in those programs and then bringing them into After Effects just for animation. That's what you've been doing so far. But you can actually also create original artwork and animate it all within After Effects. Okay. So basically, there are two types of. I'm going to put After Effects screen up here. You can there are two types of ways that you can create art in After Effects. You can either use shape layers, okay, or you can hold on one second. Yeah. One second, let me get a few settings here. Okay. You can either create what's called a shape layer, and I'll show you how I did that. You can create a shape layer by clicking on the shape tool. Actually, it starts off as a rectangle right up here in the toolbar. Make sure you guys are seeing what I see. Good, you are. It starts off at the toolbar up here, okay? If I press and hold on it, or I tap the letter Q, you can see that I'm cycling through all the different basic shapes I can start off with, okay? So, rectangle, if I press and hold on the rectangle, I can also see a flyout list. Keyboard shortcut to toggle through these different shapes is Q, okay? So they want you to choose a star shape, and I'm just going to show you really quickly how to make this shape. Notice that I don't have anything. I'm going to delete this layer out of my timeline panel. Notice I don't have any layers selected in my timeline. No layers are selected. No layers there, so no layers selected. But I can still use my shape tool to create a shape layer. And notice that it created a new layer called Shape Layer 1, right? And move the star to the center using my selection tool. Okay, Shape Layer 1. This layer right here, Shape Layer 1, represents my star. Okay, it represents, this is a graphical representation. This purple bar represents how long the star will stay on the screen according to the timeline. As you can see, I'm at 0, 0, 0, 0. And then as I scroll through the timeline ruler, the time increases, okay? And I still have purple bar underneath it. So of course the star will remain visible. And if at any point in time, I run out of purple bar short, you'll see at 4:04, that's where my timeline, my current time indicator is, there's no purple bar. So that means that time has run out for that star shaped layer. So it's no longer visible. That's kind of a review, but I just wanted to show you that. Oh, by the way, I can make this layer bar, they call it layer bar longer, by clicking and dragging the edge to the right. All right, so, hold on, let me go over here. Yes, Ms. Patel.
Yes. So when we're working with the layer, it's a similar kind of, you are playing with the Photoshop or Illustrator with the same process you can do with this miniature app, right? It's a miniature screen.
Well, not really. This is a super duper simplified version. Like I said, you can't do everything that you would do in Photoshop.
But the basics you can do.
Yeah, basic stuff. Like okay. See, I can make this shape. Well, this is a shape layer here, but I can make other shapes, of course, by choosing a different shape. Or what I can do is make what's called a mask, mask, which is, okay, now, first of all, let's look at this shape layer. And this shape layer exists on its own. It's like a separate layer in space, okay? I'm going to turn it invisible by knocking out its eyeball there so that it's no longer, it doesn't output. I'm going to create a solid layer by going layer, new, solid. Keyboard shortcut for that is Command Y. Okay. And I'm going to make I'll make a different color solid. I'll make a blue solid. I'll make a blue, blue solid. And 720 by 480, that's the same size as a composition, so it'll be full screen. Okay. I could have clicked make comp size if, if it wasn't already comp size. It'll make sure that this solid is going to be full screen. I'm going to change the color of it by clicking the color picker, choosing a bluish color, I guess, and clicking OK. And then let's click OK again. So now what I have is I have a blue solid here. Okay. It's not a shape. It's just a solid. It's like a solid, blue piece of construction paper. That's all it is. Right? And so what I can do is instead of using a shape layer like I did before to create a shape, I can use a shape layer by creating a mask or a matte. It could be one or the other, mask or matte. Usually they would call it a mask out of this.
I think it's a mask. It's a mask.
So the idea, you can call it a mask. And so the idea is I'm going to make sure my blue solid layer is selected. I'm going to do the same thing I did before and choose my star tool. And I'm going to click and drag. You see, as soon as I started clicking and dragging, that the solid layer went away, except for the portion that's inside of the star. I can use my selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, and I can, that's selected, drag my new blue star around. Okay.
Right.
So I have I'll turn my eyeball back on. I have a red star and a blue star. The red star was created using this shape tool, but no layer was selected. I just selected I'll do a circle. I just selected the tool and made sure no layers were selected down here, and then clicked and dragged inside of the comp panel. And that gave me what's called a shape layer. All right, because I used the shape tool. Now, in the case of the blue star, I'll do it again. I'll make this one a green star. I'm kind of demonstrating when I did again. I started off with a solid layer like that, and then I choose the tool, the shape tool, and I made sure that my solid layer was selected, and then I dragged over that. That solid layer. It's kind of like getting a pair of scissors and cutting a shape out of a
it's a
piece
kind of
construction.
stamping kind. Yeah.
Right. So we have shape layers that are created by making sure that no layers are selected, and you simply click the shape tool and drag it, and then you have mask, which is you create a layer, a regular standard square layer, and then you select the layer in the timeline panel, and then choose a shape tool and drag over that shape tool. So that's two different ways to make shapes. Notice that I want you to notice that the layer that is the topmost layer, the layer with the lowest number, in this case, it's the green circle. Let me rename this green circle. By the way, to rename any layer, you select it in the timeline panel, press the return key, and then when it highlights light blue, you can go ahead and change the name. I'm gonna call this orange circle because I'm gonna change its color to orange. Okay, instead of blue solid, I'm gonna hit the return key. Let's call it blue star. This one, instead of shape layer 1, let's call it red star. Right? So this is going to be kind of a review, this part right here, because of the fact that make sure we're all on the same page. Let's change this ball right here to orange. I'm going to select the layer orange ball. I'm going to look up in the tool panel at the top of the screen. I have two options that I can work with here. Okay, I have a fill option that changes the color of the inside of the shape, and a stroke option that changes the color of the edges if I want a stroke to the shape, kind of like Photoshop, kind of like Illustrator, all right? I want to change this to a orange ball, so I'm going to click in the color swatch by fill, and I'm going to choose orange. That's good right there. All right, click OK. All right. Of course, I can do the same thing with stroke. I could choose this, click on the stroke frame there and make the stroke frame any color I want it to be. Click OK. Of course, I can increase how thick that stroke is. See that? Just like that. Okay. By scrubbing the stroke value, or make it 0 if I don't want to stroke at all. Okay. All right. This red star, I'm gonna get rid of the stroke there. All right. All right. Notice also if I click on the word fill, it'll give me some options. I can do like fill it as a regular solid color, or I can fill it as a linear gradient. That's just like the gradient tool in Photoshop. Okay. So you can see I have a gradient going from white to gray, but I can change that, of course. Let's click OK and change that to something interesting. I'm going to click on the swatch here by fill, and I can make the gradient, instead of white to gray, I can click on this first one. Let's make it red. Oh, no, I did have red already. Let's make it orange to blue, I guess. Orange, oops. Orange.
To red. Orange to red.
Orange to red? Okay, orange to red. Orange to, what do I need? Red. Oh, you're not turning red. Oh, you're not turning red. There we go, red. Orange to red. Okay, so orange to reddish. Okay, so that's if I have that, if I have the fill option. I'm sorry, if I have the, if I click on fill, if I have gradient selected. Circular gradient is the same idea. I click on circular gradient, it'll give me a circular gradient instead of a linear gradient. Okay, and that's the same orange to red gradient that I had there. Okay, so so that's the deal with stroke and fill. With stroke, if I click the word stroke, I can have a gradient in my stroke, a linear gradient, or a circular gradient or radial gradient in my stroke area as well if I wanted that. Okay, but what I really wanted to talk to you about is the fact that now, check this out, I can now move objects in front of other objects or behind other objects. Okay,
right.
The object that you will see in the front is the object that has the lowest number. So for example, the green circle, that has the lowest number. I'm going to show you, if I move that green circle anywhere on the screen, it'll cover up anything that it's on top of as far as position wise, because it's the highest layer, highest in the stacking order, but the layer number is lowest. Okay, the red, let's go to the red star. Okay, that one is the lowest in the order. See, no matter where I move it, whatever I move it over is on top of it. Okay, right? If I wanted to change the order, I can move that red star, click and drag that layer, drag it all the way up to the top. That blue insertion line tells me where that layer will be when I drop it. And so now the red star is on top. Okay, see that? So the whole idea,
bring front and back. It's a bring front and back.
Difference between front and back. That's what I want to make sure you guys understand, because layer order determines what's in the front and what's in the back and what's in the middle. Okay, so always pay attention to your layer order here. Okay, that's
so you can stack it, and the way you can organize.
Yeah, well, this is more than just organization. This is about like say for example.
No, the stack, the layer stacking. You have to pull back and forth, or it just stay like that.
Oh, you have, I mean, like this order that it's in.
Yeah, order it. Okay, got you.
Okay, yeah, I can drag it around to change the order I want. But anytime I make a new, when I make a new layer, like for example, if I make a new solid layer like that, okay, the new layer always appears on top. The new
Okay,
layer
gotcha.
that you create, if you like make a new layer, it appears on top, unless you do something like drag in a layer. Like I drag this from the project panel, I drag in an asset. I can put it anywhere I want. Like I can put it on this layer right here. Okay.
So when you put it, where the reflection, the show part is like when you put the numbers the way like from the bottom to top. The
Say
stacking
again.
part, like you know the stacking part, like okay, number the bottom, very bottom, it's blue. What is
Or
the color? Yeah.
yes, blue
Okay.
star. Yeah.
And then the second color, second layer would be the orange, then the green and
Yeah.
the red, like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
That's what I'm understanding.
yeah, the one that's at the top is the one that's on top or in the front,
On
just
the
like in
top, yeah.
Photoshop.
And
Yeah,
the
just like in
bottom, yeah,
Photoshop.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to understand. It's like a same
Yeah.
concept. Bring front and
Right.
back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Same like Photoshop. Okay. So
Okay.
let's take a look at what else we're doing. I just wanted to make sure. I know that may be a bit of a throwback because we probably already know that, but I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page with that because
Right.
it was that's really important. Let's see. Let's go back and I'm going to start from scratch. I know we only have like 10 minutes left, but I'll get started on this with this project. I'm going to start, I'll make a new project. Okay.
Okay. Let's
And
make
I'm
a
not going to
cloud.
save it. Say again now?
Cloud.
Save it in the cloud? No, I'm just going to go just file new project.
No. I create a clouds.
Create a
cloud.
what now?
Create the clouds in the project.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on one second. Let me step through some of this here because I want to kind of get you guys started on this. But actually, one thing I did want to show you. Well, now I'll show this really quickly. How the difference. You may say, well, okay, I created a. Can you
show the station ID file? We can create something.
Well, yeah, that project is already done, but yeah, you could have created art within After Effects for Station ID. Yeah, absolutely. So, but check this out. I want to show you something here, and this is a background. This is a background movie they already did for us. You could easily make these with the shapes in After Effects easily. All this is a little bit of animation they have going on, and it just fades from black up to, so I can see it. The opacity changes. Okay, but in any case, what I did want to show you was this. I showed you two ways to make shapes, one of which was, let me turn this off. One of which was making a mask.
Solid.
Making a mask. And the other is making a shape layer, so nothing is selected down there.
So create from scratch.
Yeah, create from scratch. Nothing is selected. Go down to Polygon tool. No layers are selected. Notice. Then I click and drag in a comp window. This is a shape layer. So this is a shape layer. This is a mask. Shape layer, mask. Okay. Now, you may say, well, really, what's the difference? Why would I want to use a mask? Why would I want to start off with a solid and then make a shape, cut a shape out of it like that? Well, the reason is this: the shape tool only has a handful of different tools. It has six different tools, five different shapes, 5 different shapes. Say you want to make some clouds, like you were saying, something that's complex. How could I do that? Okay, well, start off with a solid. I'm going to make this solid white, like clouds. I'm going to make sure that it is the same size as the whole composition. Make comp size, click OK. All right, let's turn that off. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tool called the pen tool. The pen tool. You're probably used to this from Illustrator and Photoshop. I click on that, and I can make far more complicated shapes. Okay. Now, this shape here is not going to be a shape until I click the dot that I started off with right here. I'm going to click the first dot or the first anchor point that I created, bam, I'm going to click it, right? And so I have a shape, but then you're like, hey, wait a second. That shape it's not a cloud. It's like an inverse cloud, okay? It's like a white piece of paper with a cloud shape cut out of it. How can I make it so it's a solid cloud? Well, that's super easy. All you have to do is, let me find it. Let me find it.
Contour?
No, what you do is you just invert it. You can just invert the shape. You can just invert the shape. And let me.
So invert the shape. It's like a.
Okay.
So it's a pop-up menu.
Okay. Okay. Hang on one second. Hang on, please.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert this. Where are they holding this nowadays? Stroke 1. Nope, it's not it. Nope, it's not it. Just 1 second. I'm having a mental freeze, trying to remember where the invert button is.
It's on top somewhere on the menu.
No, it's in here. It's in here somewhere for the layers. So let's see, invert. But they recently moved it, and I've got to figure out where they moved it to. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. Let me consult my guide here. Where did they move to? They just moved it. Box. Expression. That's not helpful. Okay, let's see. Hopefully they're not asking me to do this with expressions now, because let me see. I don't want to use an expression for this. Yep, used to have an invert button right here that would flip it, and they moved it. And I'm trying to figure out what they did with it. Where did you put it? Let's do scale. Okay, I'm going to try something else because I can't find the invert. I can't find the invert button. Let's try something else. Just drawing a shape here. Okay. Invert. Yeah, they moved it. I can't show you that. I got to figure out where they moved it to. I got to figure out where they moved it to. But essentially what it was what I was trying to illustrate was this. Again, yeah. Okay. When you use the pen tool, you can make shapes that are a lot more complex.
Yeah.
You can make shapes
but
that are a lot more complex.
Can we not do any extrude? Can we not able to manage with the extrude or any kind of tools with it?
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. I know what I did. I know what I did. What it was
you
was
just hide it. You hide it.
Yeah. I had it was like this. I had made it, but what it was that this is what was going on. I had I had a layer underneath it or a layer on top of it. It was like a layer that was on top of it. It was kind of like this, and I couldn't see that I had my shape there. Okay.
Right.
So yeah. So the idea is this. Let me do it again. Okay, now that I got it. Make a new layer. I'll make it totally white. Okay.
So we are making a layer from the top?
Yeah. Well, the layer will always appear on the first, at the top by default. It'll always appear there by default. Then I use my pen tool.
And when you create when you work with a different shape, it considered as a second layer.
Right. Well, see, what I did is, if I were to make another shape, yeah, I would make it a separate layer. If I were to make another layer, or if I were to use a shape tool, yeah, it would make it a separate layer. But the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that now that I've cut this white shape out of that white layer, you know, this is a much complex shape than I could make with, you know, with a
After Effects,
you know, one of these shapes here. Yeah, one of the shapes that we have here. You know, I don't really have a whole lot of options with these shapes. You know, so with the shape tool is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that's really the one point I wanted to make with that. Let's see, something else I can show you from this chapter really quickly. Shape layer, drawing a shape, fill and stroke, we did that. Self-animating shapes. Okay, basically I only have 2 minutes, so I really can't get too much into this, but just because you make a solid layer, okay, that seems like it's static and it's not going to move, that doesn't mean that that layer is just, you know, is just never going to move. That's not necessarily true. Okay, so I have a star here, but I can make the edges of this star wiggle. Now we know we can animate the star because we animate it just like we would anything else. Okay, beginning time, beginning position, hit the keyframe, ending time, ending position, and then of course we play it back. It animates. You know that. Okay, but I could make. They show you how to make the actual you get some automatic animation of this shape.
Okay.
By adding something called a wiggle path. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to spin down the triangle there, and I am going to choose the add, kind of like last week, the add animation. Okay, the add and we called it a text animator last time, but it's like an animator for a shape in this case. Okay, so I'm going to click on that pop-up and I'm going to choose wiggle paths. Okay, you can kind of see what's already happened. The edges have kind of started to wiggle a little bit. Okay,
right.
And then I can press the space bar. Oh, well, it's going to move too, but let's get rid of the movement. Okay, let's get rid of the movement. And you can see when I hit the space bar, you see the edges as they wiggle?
Yeah.
See that? Okay, that's what wiggle paths does. What it does is that this shape is created by a path that's shaped like a star. It can take that path and it can vary the position.
It brings the light.
So it wiggles, right? Absolutely. You can make all kinds of changes to this to make you can make all kinds of changes to this to make it more subtle or more radical. Okay, so I could.
From where it came, from where we select the wiggle.
I'm just saying again, the wiggle. Remember, we went to the add this add menu, this
Right,
add, it's
okay, yeah.
basically a shape animator. Click on that and
Uh-huh.
wiggle paths right
Okay.
there. And then I can make, I can go to the content section when I spin down the triangle for the layer, spin down contents, and I can make all kinds of changes. Go to the wiggle paths option, and I could change, well, I can make the wiggles really big like this.
Mm-hmm.
I can give them more detail like that. Wow, it looks cool, doesn't it? I could make it wiggle a whole bunch of more times per second. Like, let's make it wiggle 35 times per second like that. Let's see what that looks like. I can make any changes that I want from right there. And
Right.
that, pretty cool, like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of course, that's just one element. You can do lots of other things, but they do talk about the wiggle paths feature in chapter 4. So that's something I just kind of gave you a preview into, and hopefully you get a chance to explore that and understand it as you guys work through the chapter. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. We went through an extensive preview or an extensive coverage. We covered thoroughly outputting and rendering in After Effects. We talked about media encoder. We talked about creating two different shapes, two different ways to create shapes. You can create shapes by either creating a mask, by creating a layer, a solid layer, and then cutting a shape out of it with the shape tool, or you can create a shape by making sure there are no layers selected in the timeline panel and just dragging with the layer tool. It'll create a star, a circle, a square, whatever you want. Well, one of those 5 or 6 options there. And then we also shows you how you can use the pen tool to cut a custom shape, as they call it, out of a solid background, out of a solid layer background to create any kind of shape you want. Are there any questions on anything?
Not at all. I think I just understand more today.
Good,
I know it's
good,
like
good.
a short of time, but I'm trying to make it on time. But it's like
Right.
it's a little hard
Yeah.
to manage the schedule.
Yeah.
But I'm trying it.
I get it. Okay. So go ahead. Remember, you have your quiz on chapter 4. It's on Blackboard right now. It'll be available to you from now until 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, September the 26th. Mr. Olin, what can I do for you?
So I don't really have a question. It's more of with the project, I just formatted it the correct way, but QuickTime won't display it right. So I went to media encoder, and I updated it to an MP4 file.
Okay. And you want to turn that in? Is that what you that's what you want your ultimate output to be?
If that would be acceptable, because I don't know if the QuickTime file would even work. Because I heard what was going on.
Are you on a PC?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on a PC. Are you working with QuickTime or are you working with Windows?
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch.
I'm sorry. Are you working with QuickTime or Windows Movie Player? As you said, you're on PC, and I was asking, are you working with QuickTime or Windows Movie Player?
Honestly, I'm not too sure because I've never really had this problem before.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. Let's go offline for everybody else. I'll let them go. I don't want to keep them. And then you stay on. This is Justin. Who's this? Justin? Jeffrey. You stay on, Jeffrey, and I will. We'll take a look at what's going on with you. Everybody else, you guys are good to go. I'm gonna stay on with Jeffrey for a little while and see if I can help him through his problems. Have a great weekend. I will see you guys. Don't forget to do your quiz. I'll see you guys a little later on. All right. Okay. So Jeffrey, so you guys can log off if you want to. Can you share? I don't know. How do you share your screen with me? Do you know how to do it?
I'm not too sure.
Do you have a share application screen option on your right-hand side?
On the right-hand side?
Yeah. Like under share content?
No, I think you can, but it's not going to allow me to.
Okay, let me see. Maybe I can make it so that you can. Let me see.
One thing I
Mr.
will mention is
Yeah, go ahead.
the default video player for a PC, which I run on Windows 10,
Yeah.
will not run the video for a QuickTime
Right.
file. So
Right.
if you're not sure which one you're using, if you just click on any video, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
probably it's playing on the video player, and it's not going to
Yeah.
show the video. You might get the sound, but you won't. You probably won't be able to see the video. So I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Have you downloaded the QuickTime player?
I've not. I don't know which one to download.
Okay,
Because when I
yeah.
search it
So
up, there's like a lot of options.
yeah, there's a bunch of them. I just went with the first option that comes up. That one worked for me. When I put my project into the first QuickTime player I downloaded, I could see it and I could hear it and everything was fine. I would just recommend trying that, whichever the one is the top one on Google.
On Google.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at that just now. Um, yeah. There's an option that says QuickTime Player for Windows. I think it's 2021.
I'm not getting that result. I'm
Uh,
getting download QuickTime for Windows 7, or I think.
yeah. You don't want that. Yeah. You don't want that. Um, do you know which version of Windows you have?
I have Windows 10.
I know, but is it like have you
Oh,
updated it recently?
that's a good question. I have no clue.
Okay. Well, definitely, what you can do is just type in Google QuickTime Player for Windows 2021 or Windows 10 2021, and you'll see some options there. Go with like a reputable site. Don't go with you know how it is, a real cheesy looking website, because you don't want to get any viruses or anything. But um, download QuickTime 10, preferably from Apple's website. QuickTime 10, the newest version, the 2021 version, and try to open a MOV file, like one of the files, like I showed Kamal when she came in at about 3. Download one of the, or try to play one of the QuickTime files from the lessons they give you in the book. If it plays, like an MOV file will play, QuickTime Player, you're good to go. All right. If it doesn't
All
play,
right.
that probably means you need to upgrade. You need to upgrade your Windows 10 version. You can still stay with Windows 10, but you need to upgrade your operating system, and that's free. Just go into Windows 10, and there's a way you can upgrade your operating system if you can do that.
All
Okay.
right.
I mean, for the book, you could stick with the ABI if you want to. You can, I mean, but like I said before, you're going to run into a lot of problems with ABI and just making stuff the Windows Movie Player can play back, because, as you can see, Windows Movie Player can't play back QuickTime movies, but QuickTime Movie Player can play back ABIs and stuff you play on Windows Movie Player. Windows Movie Player can only play back a handful of different types of movies. So definitely give that a shot, and email me. Tell me how that works. Email me. Go ahead and shoot me that H.264. In any case, that's fine. The H.264 is fine in that case. But I'm going to try to see. I don't have a very good. I don't know if there are any PCs in this place that have Adobe Creative Cloud. So I was going to say, like, maybe next time, or if you want to do a conference session, we can do it separate from class. I can show you how you negotiate all this stuff if you're on a PC. But you're fine with just working with AVIs for now. That's fine.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
That is
Thank
all.
you for your help, Mr. Pitchford.
Oh yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
All right. Y'all take care.
All
Somebody
right.
wake up Price. Y'all have a good
Yeah,
day.
they've been asleep for a while.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he slept through the whole class. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh,